Hello guys, today I would like to tell you a bit more about Google Tag Manager data layers and how we can dynamically capture information from data layers and use them for our purposes. So first thing first, I would like to show you how those data layers actually work. So I'm going to my dummy e-commerce URL. My tag assistant has loaded. And here I have data layer with listed elements. Whenever I push something into the data layer, for example, I'm adding something to cart, and I continue shipping, you can see that in my Google Tag Manager, I have this add to cart event already recorded. And also under data layer segment, I can see different things like a event name, which is add to cart. I can see unique event ID. I can see also quite interesting thing for all e-commerce owners called e-commerce. Here I have listed all items which has been included in this add to cart event. So you can see the item's name. I can see the item ID. This is unique for WooCommerce, how I set it up. I can see its price. I can see category, category number 2, and quantity. So whenever I add just one piece for 20 zlotys, all right, my tag assistant recorded another add to cart, and now my data layers contain different information. So there is different item ID, different price, etc. So now how we can capture those values? In order to do so, we need to go to our variables and we need to create a new variable. I will call it test data layer. Now I'm choosing it to be the data layer variable, and I need to input here my data layer variable name. This might be a little bit tricky because you need to pay high attention on how this is actually constructed. So here our data layers path opens. So if I wish to capture whatever is under this event, the only thing I need to do is I need to call it event. And this way my data layer variable will return to me add to cart value. If I wish to capture anything from the Google Tag Manager, for example, unique event ID, I need to build this path. As you can see, this is the first step of a structure, this is the second step of a structure, and then we have values. So if I wish to capture my unique event ID, my actual data layer should be called gtm.uniqueEventID. So I can copy this and I can paste it in here like this, gtm unique event ID. I will show it to you. Now I will save this and I will refresh my page once again to show you how it works. So I once again opening my WooCommerce store. It has loaded. So once again add to cart, continue shopping. And now for my add to cart, I can see a data layer GTM unique event ID to be 59. And in my variables, when I scroll down to my test data layer, you can see that the data layer variable value is 59. So what is important in here? If I wish to capture and use my specific values from WooCommerce, for example, the name of the item, I need to construct it properly. So if I wish to capture the name of this variable, I need to name it e-commerce dot. The next level is items. So paste. Also, this is the tricky part. There is another curly bracket opening, which means this is another level, but it is actually empty. So here I need to type 0 and then another level is item name. So first I will show you what happens if I miss this curly bracket part opening without any value to show you the missing element. So I will use the incorrect value without the 0 with just the item name. So I will modify my variable, which is the test data layer, and I will change this to be that. So now I'm saving it, and I'm once again going into the preview mode just to show you the wrong variable. Connect. And once again add to cart. 35 zlotys, continue. Alright, I have my add to cart element, and in my data layer you can see that its name is 2 montage screws, etc. But in my variables, my test data layer is undefined. So now I will close it once again and do the correct one. So in my test data layer, I'm adding my 0, as there is another step, but it is simply empty. So I will now save it and once again go to the preview mode, connect, and once again add to cart for 25 PLN, continue. So you can see that for my add to cart data layer, item name is this, and my variable test data layer is exactly the same. You can also look up your data layer in Chrome by pressing F12 and going into the console tab, and then you need to look up your data layer element. So let's find this data layer. This is the timer, so it's not the one we are interested in. Those are also timers. GTM click. Let's find it. Right, it's not here. Let's do it once again. Add to cart. As you can see, there is data layer push, event add to cart. So if I unscroll it or expand it, you can see that we have first step. I will show it to you step by step, which is called e-commerce. Now there is dot to close this step. Now there is items, which is my second step. So items. Now there is opening another step called 0. So now I hope you understand why the 0 appeared in here. It is the 0, and then another step is item name. And now I can create a real simple tag, which could be, for example, my postback, and I actually have it already predefined. So I have add to cart postback fire. So this postback fires whenever an event is add to cart. I have my custom trigger for event type add to cart. This is exactly how it is named in here. You can see add to cart, and then my postback contains the product name under my param1. Right now this is a different variable, but I can change it and I can capture that param1 would be my variable, which would be test. And I can look it up in my variables. So whenever it's in here, I can always look it up. Or I can simply press this button to unload my all predefined variables. So test data layer. Please remember that when using this button, the variable is always added at the very end of the URL string. This is one of GTM disadvantages. So I need to copy this value, test data layer, and paste it into a correct place, because without this we wouldn't be able to record it. So now I can save it, and I can again go through everything, connect to see if I record this value properly. So once again, adding something to cart, 45 PLN, continue shopping. Let's see what happened. At the level of add to cart, in the data layer, I can see my e-commerce item name for mounting screws. Then my variable called test data layer contains the same value. And then in the tags triggered, I can see add to cart post backfire. It says failed, but it is not true. It actually fired. And I can see either names that the param1 should contain the value of test data layer, or I can look up the exact values so that param1 contains 4 encoded space, encoded Polish hash, and the whole name of my product. Also under param2 I can see the item ID, etc, etc. So I can also get back to my volume and look up the value of the conversion for this click ID, because I can also see the click ID value. So let's go into the reports of this campaign. Let's go into the conversions and let's just look up the click ID I'm talking about. Once again, I need to copy this, or I can copy it from here. All right, so let's sort it by the click ID. And let's look up our conversion. There is already add to cart for mounting screws, the item ID, the price, class number 1, and number of pieces. That's all. Thank you for your attention.